At this point in the story, we have seen Superman start his rivalry with Lex Luthor. We've seen how Batman deals with the corruption in Gotham while also having a Robin with a bit more of a temper than he's used to. And we've also seen Wonder Woman show her compassion while also being a ferocious warrior. What else are we missing? We need the Flash. Let's get into our casting for this movie. Now, I want to go through the more important characters in depth, so let's get the less important characters kind of out of the way, and I'll just name them. So to start things off, we're going to have Timothy Oliphant and Rose Byrne, and they're going to be playing Henry and Nora Allen. And we're also going to be having August Hart in this movie as Barry's best friend, and he's going to be played by Diego Luna. So for Iris West, you can't tell a good Flash story without a good Iris, so for that I'm going to be going with Lily James, because she needs to be the kind of person that you want to have around. While I know a lot of people point to her performance in Baby Driver as the main reason that she should be Iris West, I was looking more at the Iron Claw, where she basically already has the Barry and Iris dynamic, and she does it really well with Zac Efron in that movie. So the main villain of this movie is going to be Captain Cold, who is arguably Flash's most notable villain aside from the obvious answer. He's been around for a long time, but we've never actually seen him on the big screen, and we need someone who can play that double-sidedness, that has that experience being on the big screen and making a very dislikable character really likable. Because Captain Cold isn't someone who's inherently evil, he just does it because he has to. So for these reasons, I'm going to be going with Bill Hader. I know it's not a very common choice, but that's what we like to do around here. We like to, you know. But he has literally already played a character like this before in the HBO series Barry, where he plays that threatening killer, but then also does a complete 180 on it and can play the exact opposite. So for our Barry Allen, our Flash, I'm going to go with the actor Kyle Allen. Now I know it's a lot younger than a lot of the other characters we have in DC Prime, but I want to be able to learn about this Barry and his world and grow with him throughout the course of this entire universe. Barry has always been inherently heroic. He grew up reading comic books, and we can all relate to that. And he learned from those books that he can help people, and he should when he has the ability to do so. Because The Flash is a really unique story in the way that it's about someone who deserves powers actually getting powers. That doesn't normally happen. And I think Kyle Allen would be able to deliver all of that really, really well. So that's why Kyle Allen is DC Prime's Flash. Okay, got all that? Good. I'm glad you have all that, because now it's time for our main story. So enjoy The Flash Year 1. Darkness. The sound of rain pours down as we hear someone rummaging through boxes. The loud crash of thunder overhead is heard as lightning strikes, illuminating the room for a moment as the light flicks on. A young boy with bright blonde hair looks through the old boxes in some sort of attic. Barry? The young boy turns to see his mother, Nora, standing next to him. Barry holds tons of comic books, struggling to keep them all together. What are you doing up here? Nora catches Barry as he tries to sneak past her. She looks at his face to see a black eye. Barry, oh my god, what happened? If you're getting bullied at school, you can tell your dad and I. Barry shrugs it off, barely drawing attention to it. Some kid was getting picked on. I told the bully to stop, but he punched me in the eye. Nora sits on the floor next to Barry and takes one of the comics. She opens it and looks inside at the artwork. You know, the superheroes in these stories aren't real, Barry. Barry looks to the floor, saddened. Nora notices this and lifts his chin up high. But I know that someday, you'll be your own kind of superhero. I will? Sure you will, 'cause you're already my superhero. Barry smiles and hugs his mom. I love you, Mom. Nora squeezes Barry tightly. I love you more, my brave boy. We arrive at a crime scene. It's 9 a.m. and the Central City Police Department has set up a perimeter around the armored truck flipped over on its side, the back blown out with some kind of explosive. Barry Allen enters the scene and approaches a detective. Hey August, sorry I'm late. My alarm didn't go off this morning. The detective is revealed to be August Hart, longtime friend of Barry's and his partner at the CCPD. Yeah, right, yesterday was my dog was sick. You don't even have a dog, Barry. August laughs it off as the two approach the truck. Barry examines the scene and notices that the truck belongs to Star Labs, a highly regarded research facility in Central City. He takes note of the explosion that had occurred. August, the explosion came from inside. Hey boys, got something for me? Barry turns around to see Iris West. She comes towards them with a notebook in hand. Hello, Miss West. I assume you're here for Barry. I'm here for the robbery, but, Barry's a nice bonus. How are you? Barry's immediately red in the face. I'm good. Yeah, sure. Doing great. Iris chuckles and gives Barry her number. Call me if you have a story for me. Or maybe you'll want to talk about it over coffee. Yeah, definitely. Will do. Iris smirks as she walks away. There's a moment of silence before August laughs, putting his hand on Barry's shoulder. Smooth. Good to know you're quick on your feet. Later that day, Barry visits Iron Heights, the largest prison in Central City. Barry sits at the window and picks up the phone on the side. Then a middle-aged man sits at the other end, escorted by an officer. Hey Barry, been a minute. Sorry, Dad, I've just been busy the past few weeks. There's a silence, but it's broken by Henry when he reads his son's body language. You gotta stop trying to get me out of here. I can't let you sit in here any longer. Not for something that you didn't do. You just gotta keep going. You're running in place when you should be looking ahead. Go spend time with your friends. Go on a date. Do something with your life, Barry. Make your mom proud. Don't say that. Mom wouldn't want you rotting away in here. I know. Later that night, we see Barry back at the CCPD. A storm rages outside and is heard beating down on the roof while lightning flashes constantly outside the window. Sitting in his lab, staring at the corkboard covered in images of his dad, his mom, crime scene photos, and red string, Barry looks at it and he thinks back to what his dad said earlier, takes the piece of paper out of his pocket with Iris's phone number on it. Go on a date. Just then, a bolt of lightning smashes into him through the window, sending him backwards into a shelf full of chemicals. Barry convulses on the floor as the chemicals sink into his body before he eventually lays still and everything goes dark. Okay, and that's all of our beginning scenes, and that was a lot, but also very little. In such a short amount of time, we have established the connection between Barry and his mom, which is the most important connection that Barry has. We've also established the status quo with Barry's job, his day-to-day life, and his best friend, August Hart. And we've also set up the romantic tension between him and Iris. Not only that, but we also got to see where Barry's dad is. Now, as many of you know, if you know really anything about The Flash, when his mom was killed, his dad was arrested because obviously they couldn't find the killer, and all the evidence pointed to Barry's dad having done it. So, for that reason, Henry was thrown in prison, and Barry made it his life goal to try and get his dad out of prison for a crime that he didn't commit. After that, we see that Barry has been really working on his own to try and prove his father's innocence. He's been trying to put the pieces together, get good evidence for it. That means we'd be about 15 or so minutes into this movie, and we would already have all of that, and our hero would have his powers. That's pretty good pacing, if you ask me. Barry jolts awake. He looks around and recognizes a hospital room. Barry takes a breath and we cut to 1 week later. Heading into his lab at the CCPD, Barry is greeted by August. Barry Allen, as I live and breathe. Thought you were a goner, man. 4 months isn't that long. Right, definitely. Anyway, we gotta go. Another jewelry store was just hit by a mystery man. Another? Yeah, been on a spree of bank robberies and jewelry store heists over the past 4 months. We think this is the same guy who robbed that Star Labs truck supply shipment before he left. Barry puts on his jacket and follows August out. Arriving at the crime scene, it's fairly a standard heist. Nothing too elaborate, but Barry can't believe that they haven't caught this guy yet. As Barry investigates, he hears a familiar voice. Oh my god, Barry? Barry turns around and Iris comes rushing up to him, grabbing him tight for a hug. I didn't know you were out of the hospital. Yeah, sorry. Recovering went better than expected. I felt better after a few days, but it's okay. I'm just glad you're back. Maybe we can get that coffee now. Iris turns to leave, but Barry puts his hand on her shoulder. How about dinner? Iris smiles and we fade to our next scene. On Barry's way home from work, this is where we begin to see his powers kick in. The next night, Barry goes on that date with Iris. The chemistry needs to be electric. Something about them just clicks. They bounce off of one another with ease as they discuss the robberies. After a while, Iris shifts the conversation to more personal things. Central City is torn on divisive subjects, and it does need someone or something to get behind. A symbol of hope. And this is where the Scarlet Speedster is born. We also see that Iris can really give Barry that push to really go for it and be that superhero. An underlying theme of Chapter 1 of DC Prime is hope. It's pretty obvious with Superman Genesis, but even with movies like Batman and Wonder Woman, with Batman we see Gotham City's version of hope, and it's still hope even if it lurks within the shadows. And with Wonder Woman, we see that hope really spread to more of a mass scale. We see Barry training with his new powers as he creates a prototype suit, even burning through pairs of shoes before developing a heat-resistant kind of boot. After this, we see Barry stopping crimes all around the city. Nothing big, just smaller scale things like muggings and stopping car chases before people can get hurt. But after he gets word of another jewelry store robbery in progress, he knows that this is the chance to stop that crook. When he arrives, the police wait outside. As he rushes in, he activates a tripwire that causes a bomb to detonate. Through the smoke and ash, Barry is hurt. Badly. He looks up to see the criminal emerge, kneeling down to examine Barry. Fascinating. How do you work? Do your molecules speed up? Yeah, still figuring that one out myself. Who are you? Don't make this personal. If you do, I'll come for you. I'll come for your family. If you leave right now, I'll forget this happened. He extends his hand to help Barry to his feet. Thanks, but you know I gotta stop you. The criminal smirks, then swings at Barry. Seeing this coming, Barry easily dodges the right hook and throws an uppercut into the criminal's jaw, knocking him to the ground. Barry smiles as he runs away, thinking he's won. When the police rush inside, the criminal is gone. And that's our introduction to the main villain. Now, obviously, we all know who he's going to become later. He's going to become Captain Cold, but he is a criminal with a moral compass. He really won't kill you if you aren't in his way or make things personal. But if you do cross him on a personal level, you're, he's coming for you. He's coming for you. The rest of Act 2 is relatively straightforward. We see Barry and August continue investigating crime scenes left by Snart. We also get the second date between Barry and Iris, but she leaves in the middle of it in order to chase a story. A story about the new speedster vigilante in Central City. A vigilante who has been deemed the Scarlet Speedster. We also get more scenes of Barry testing out his new powers and stopping more criminals on the street. Our big turning point of the movie is us finally getting our full reveal of Snart. We see him enter a hospital as he checks in and heads into one of the rooms. Inside, a sickly woman lies in bed. Snart takes her hand and a tear falls down his face. Hey mom, doctors say you're gonna get better. I just need to get the money for your treatments and you should be good to go. Snart gets choked up on his words. I'm almost there. Just hang on a little longer, please. After this, Snart returns home. In his basement, he has his own private lab where he works on technology. On the table, there are boxes of stolen Star Labs equipment. He was the one who robbed the truck before Barry went into his coma. If the Scarlet Speedster's molecules are moving that fast, if slowed, the vigilante would in theory become slower as well. With this hypothesis, he begins work on his iconic weapon, the Cold Gun, a rifle that fires blasts of ice, freezing anything it touches. This is the birth of Captain Cold. Following this, we see Barry and August investigate the latest robbery, but this one is different. The walls and floor are covered in ice. The security guards are also frozen in place, covered in severe frostbite. Barry deduces that whoever this was able to create this artificial ice, and they must have had some kind of technology from Star Labs, which he then links back to the truck robbery months ago and how that was an inside job. This criminal was an employee at Star Labs. August does some digging to find that the research lab had a security breach around the time the truck was robbed. After that breach, an employee by the name of Leonard Snart was fired just days after. That night, the Scarlet Speedster investigates the home of Leonard Snart. He eventually reaches the lab in the basement, and there he finds the Star Lab tech as well as medications for cancer treatments, photos of Snart and his mother, and a journal from Snart describing the cancer treatments themselves. Just then, Snart enters, getting back from the robbery that morning. He notices the Scarlet Speedster and he locks them both inside as the two fight. However, Barry doesn't know how to counter the Cold Gun, giving Snart the advantage. Barry is blasted in the chest with an ice blast, knocking him to the floor and leaving him critically injured. He can barely stand, but he makes his way over to the door. Barry does his best to escape, but the door won't open. Snart goes to shoot Barry once more, finishing him off, but just as he pulls the trigger, Barry phases through for the first time onto the floor on the other side, narrowly escaping death. Barry returns to his apartment, crashing at his front door. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. Barry? You in there? Shit. Look, I wanted to say that I'm sorry for leaving the other night. I know I shouldn't have, but I got scared. I've never gotten this close to anyone before, and it scared me. I've only ever known my work, and that's what made me shut people out at times. Barry lays down, barely able to breathe. Frostbite? Broken ribs? Maybe it's both. But I don't want to shut you out, Barry. Iris hears a loud noise inside, like something fell and crashed. After not getting a response, she kicks the door in and sees Barry, the Scarlet Speedster, lying on the floor. 2 days later, Barry wakes up on his couch. He has bandages wrapped around his chest, and he looks under them to see bruising. Then Iris walks in. They talk about everything. Barry's powers, their relationship, how they feel about one another, Barry's mother, his father, Iris's life, everything. But they also talk about Captain Cold. They talk about the morality of stopping him. Barry knows he needs to do the right thing, but if he does, Snart's mother is gonna die of cancer. But if he doesn't, people are gonna get hurt. Barry knows he can't trade lives, but he can't figure out what to do. But that's why Iris is here. Hey, you can help so many people, but you only need to save one. Snart's mom? No. Him. After this, we see Barry looking over his destroyed suit, the Scarlet Speedster, torn to shreds. He gets to work making a new suit. Something a little more flashy. Act 2 was all about raising the stakes. We now have all of our pieces in place here for the finale. We have really solidified the relationship between Barry and Iris, which is going to be crucial for the rest of this movie. We've also brought the rivalry between Barry and Snart to a point of no return, where Snart knows that Barry's going to be a problem for him, and he also knows how to kill him, which leads us perfectly into our third act of the movie. Snart decides it's now or never. The Scarlet Speedster has become too big of a problem and Snart is running out of time. He plans his biggest heist yet, and this time he's going for Cash, the largest bank in Central City. As Barry arrives on the scene in his iconic classic suit, he sees all the police outside. He rushes up to August. "I'm heading in. Make sure no one comes in or out, understand?" "Why should I listen to you?" "Because I'm the Flash." Flash winks at August and smirks, then runs inside. When he gets in, he immediately sees Snart. "Doesn't have to be this way, Snart. Let me help you. There's nothing you can offer me that'll make me stop. Let me try. I know I can help you through this. I know I can help your mom." Snart's fist clenches and he readies his cold gun. "I told you to stay out of my way." The fight begins. Snart tries to hit Flash with blasts of ice, but he can't seem to hit the superhero. After a bit of conflict, Flash realizes he needs to get rid of that gun or else he won't be able to get in close. He thinks quickly and throws a duffel bag of cash at Snart to distract him. Flash then gets closer and punches the gun as hard as he can, causing it to explode. The chemicals and technology contained within the weapon explodes on Snart, freezing his arms in the process, turning them to ice. Captain Cold reaches a new level of power when he gains abilities. He has become the gun itself, and the powers have been amplified tenfold. The fight then becomes more of an action set piece when the fight is relocated to the harbor. Captain Cold freezes over most of the water, leaving a huge platform for the opponents to fight. Not only that, but now people are in danger, which gives this fight bigger stakes. After a while, Flash sees Iris helping others get away from the fight. This distracts him just long enough for Captain Cold to throw a lethal shot on our hero. A blast of ice is shot into Flash's chest, plunging him into the water. The Flash is dead. We see a silhouette of a man sinking to the bottom of Central City Harbor as muffled noises of chaos bleed through the water from the surface. Barry's eyes open as he sits up. He looks around to see everything. He stands in a stark white void, lightning coursing through the air. Barry looks around as he sees the past, the present, and the future. All these moments in time are held together by an electrical current constantly flowing. He sees glimpses of other speedsters, a man in a red shirt with a metal helmet, a teenager in a yellow and red costume, a man in a red and blue suit beaming with blue electricity, a large figure clad in purple armor standing atop a planet made of entire metal. Then he sees himself fighting alongside 5 other heroes on that planet, one with a bright red cape standing out to him in particular. What is this? Barry? Barry stops in his tracks. He knows that voice anywhere. Mom? Barry turns around and Nora stands there, a loving smile on her face. Hi, Barry. In an instant, Barry is in his mom's arms and he hugs her harder than ever before as tears stream down his cheeks and he sobs into her shoulder. I missed you so much. I know, Barry, but it isn't your time yet. Barry steps back. What? People are counting on you, Barry. You have a greater purpose now. He begs his mom to let him stay, and he falls to his knees, unable to stand. One day we'll meet again. I promise. But today isn't the day. Iris needs you. Wally needs you. Wally? Nora's eyes lighten up as she kisses her son's forehead. She hugs him one last time. I love you, my brave boy. Now go be your own kind of superhero. In an instant, the Flash's eyes shoot open underwater. Lightning courses through them, causing his eyes to glow a bright yellow. Back on the surface, Captain Cold notices the ice below him start to crack. Electricity crackles and the ice breaks to glow from underneath. Just then, the Flash explodes into the air, lightning radiating from his body. He lands on the ice and looks up at Captain Cold. The two stare down one another until Flash breaks eye contact, noticing Iris. Captain Cold follows Flash's eye line and sees her as well. Flash charges at Captain Cold, but the villain creates an ice wall, causing the Flash to crash into it, slowing him down momentarily. Cold grabs Iris as a spike of ice forms from his hand, pressing against her neck. Snart, don't! Captain Cold looks back at Flash. You made this personal. The villain thrusts his spike towards Iris's neck, but the Flash is faster than ever. In the blink of an eye, he grabs Captain Cold and throws him 20 feet across the ice away from Iris. Flash rushes towards Captain Cold, then proceeds to throw punch after punch into Captain Cold's face. Flash prepares one final blow to kill Cold, but he hesitates. He breathes heavily, and in a moment of compassion, he steps back. I don't want to hurt you. You're hurting enough already. I just want my mom to be alright. Then let me help. The movie ends with the harbor melting. Flash is celebrated and he's able to get Snart's mom on a government-funded treatment. Snart is arrested and he's kept in a cell with extreme heaters on 24/7 to keep his powers negated. Our final scene shows Iris knocking on Barry's apartment door. Barry opens the door and sees her standing there with some teenager, maybe 15 years old. Hey Iris, who's this? This is my nephew, Wally. Barry smiles and he shakes the kid's hand. Hey Wally, good to meet you. And that's The Flash Year One. Now, I'm no professional screenwriter, but I do know how to write a good Flash movie, and I know how to write a good superhero movie. So, I believe that this would be the perfect introduction to a character such as this in a universe that is as connected as DC Prime is. I don't know if any of that made sense, but I did want to try and tell a personal story that was all about character relationships and what happens when those relationships are tested to the extreme. Make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications. That was the final pitch before our big team up and conclusion to Chapter 1, which is going to be called Justice League War World. If you know what War World is, then you know. That's about it from me. Take it easy. We open on Barry laying on his couch. He wears headphones and listens to music while he reads a comic book. Barry glances at the TV when something catches his eye. A bright red cape worn by a man in a blue suit flying over the streets of Metropolis. Barry stands up, dropping the comic book. He takes off his headphones and watches the news broadcast in shock. He thinks back to his trip through the Speed Force and he remembers that bright red cape. Holy shit.